It's my laughing jaws.
Thank you.
Great timing, great timing, right?
We don't want to be calling any emergency people right this moment.
Right? We don't need any emergency help at the moment. I might though if I trip and fall.
So I'm gonna let you take it away.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me okay. This air quality is not helping my voice any. So, yes, I met Linda and her team when we were all in training for the Matter of Balance class that I know you're going to start here pretty soon. We've started, excuse me, we've started ours at HealthQuest Medical Supply in Fair Oaks on Saturday. So when you take that class, which I encourage you all to do, it's a reinforcement of some things you already know. And then today, what I'm going to do is go into some tips on how you can preserve your independence, how you can reduce your risk of falling. What is your risk of falling, right? And then I'm also going to demonstrate a couple of medical devices that work at home and on the go, that just to show you what modern technology can do these days. That doesn't look like your grandma's medical alert. So I think that's really important to know. So let's see here as we click along. Okay, I'm used to the let's see if this will work. Okay, here we go. I think. No. Well, I said I just move this along. How do I Linda, how do I make it go? Supposed to click and it's supposed to move the next slide.
Try the down arrow.
Oh, okay. All right. So what we're going to go, excuse me, what we're going to go over is our fall statistics and what they mean to you, what puts you at risk of falling, what you can do to reduce your fall risks, practical safety tips and tools. Excuse me 1 second. I apologize, guys. Sacramento air quality is not the best in a heat wave. Resource list for information, classes, and safety equipment. And everyone's going to take home a fall risk survey and a home safety checklist. I have those as handouts. So you may already know some of this from your classes here, but just to reinforce it, falls are a big deal. So much so that last month, September, has been deemed Fall Prevention Awareness Month for many years now, because 1 in 4 American seniors falls every year. I've seen some stats where it's 1 in 3. But okay, that's at least 2 of you in this room right here, right? Who could have a fall. You can do everything right and still have a fall. I've had a few falls. And so what happens is every 11 seconds, a senior is treated in the emergency department of the hospital for fall-related injuries. It's huge. Every 19 minutes, a senior dies from those injuries. Many falls go unreported because people are afraid if they mention that they had a fall, oh my God, the kids are going to pull me out of my house and change my life and put me in a nursing home. Right? Yeah, it's everybody's biggest fear, or is at least in the top 3 as we get older. So we're going to talk about what we can do about that. So do not be our Humpty Dumpty out there at William Lamb Park. So the average length of time someone goes without emergency help after a fall, in the shower, by the garbage cans on the side of the house, in between, 2 parked cars in a remote parking lot, whatever, it's 18 hours. That was shocking to me. I learned that statistic about 6.5 years ago. And I've spoken to so many older adults, and people have told me, oh yeah, I was on the floor in the bathtub for 5 days. 5, yeah, right. That's my response. 5 days. One lady, it was 7 days. I don't know how anyone lives through that. I honestly don't think I would want to. So that's why the average is 18 hours, because for some people it's 2 or 3 days, 2 or 3 hours, or a week. Most people don't bounce back after that. So it's really tough. 80% of falls happen at home. So if we are isolated and we don't have somebody that we're checking in with regularly, that's how the hours go up to days, right? Not being able to get help. And the more isolated we are, the more our risk of falling goes up and not being discovered. And part of the problem is a phone is not in reach. We think it is, we got it in our pocket, it's up on the kitchen counter, but we're on the floor in the shower. We're on the floor in the backyard or in the garage. So we'll talk about what you can do about that. But that's one of the things. And as we age, we're all kind of in denial because I don't know about you, but I'm still in my 30s in my head. I'm long past my 30s. I'm 30 years past that. So who am I kidding? But in my head, I'm younger. And for all of you, it's probably the same. And we're still moving like we used to. We're still doing things that maybe we shouldn't do or do alone anyway. And that's part of, kind of being not in denial. So these are some of the top things that put you at risk of falling. And we do have a handout. You don't have to fill it out now, but everyone will get one. So if you're in the cardiovascular wellness program, you might already have some of these risks, right? You could have a fall because, some of the medications you're taking might make you a little bit lightheaded or dizzy, right? You might have multiple chronic illnesses. You could be taking more than 3 medications a day. Many people I think the average is around 9 different medications. Do you have impaired hearing or vision? These are really big deals. In fact, I was reading on your website yesterday a whole presentation about vestibular process and how that keeps us balanced. So our ears are really important. Are we using a walking aid or a cane or a wheelchair? That means we're already at risk. That's why we're using those, but those, if not used properly, can put us at risk again. Have we fallen in the last 3 years? That's another piece of it. For me, I'm past that now finally, but that doesn't mean we're not going to have a fall tomorrow or out in the parking lot for all I know. Do you limit your life out of fear of falling? That's a really big topic. And that's covered in the Matter of Balance class that Linda and the team is now trained to give. So, and also, is your home environment set up with safety in mind? If you had kids or grandchildren, you might have toddler-proofed your house, right? It was all about the kids' safety. Now it's all about yours so that you can live a long, independent life and not have a mishap happen like, dang, that could have been prevented. So we'll talk about that. Do you spend 3 or more hours alone per day? Again, that's part of that time alone, isolation, as well as who's going to know you fell during those 3 hours. And of course, if you're worried about your safety in general, you might be limiting your life and becoming more isolated. So it all kind of goes hand in hand. So you're already in a good exercise program here, right? You come here, 3 days a week or more, because we're talking about finding a good balance in exercise program, which you have. If you're exercising at home, good for you, because that means you're disciplined. Just be really careful. My advice is always let your friend know, hey, I'm going to do my exercises for the next half hour. I'm by myself. So I'm going to text you when I'm done. If you don't hear from me, check on me. So think about that, because exercise is really good. But if you do have an emergency or an accident while you're exercising, who's going to know it if you're by yourself? So have a plan. I'm all big on the buddy system. So we talked about vision and hearing. Make sure you get those tested every year. Insist on it. I even learned recently that with Medicare, we are all entitled to a cognitive test once a year. Most doctors don't know that, and they sure don't bring it up because they're probably afraid of insulting us. But I learned that from the Alzheimer's Association at a dementia event. And then the other day I was reading about falls can be an indicator of some dementia symptoms coming on. It can also be the other way around. A fall causes a traumatic brain injury and can bring on some dementia symptoms. It can be either or, but getting evaluated, there's a simple cognitive test that your doctor can give, is important. But again, your hearing and vision, stay on top of that. Don't be wearing old glasses and old prescriptions and old contact lenses. Remember, all that matters. And the hearing aids, I know they're kind of a nuisance. No one's ever happy with theirs. Stick with it. Hearing really matters for your balance.
It doesn't matter who your healthcare provider is.
As long as you're receiving Medicare benefits, that's part of the program. It's just, it's not well known. I didn't know about it. And it was the executive director of the local Alzheimer's Association who stressed it at an event we did up in Cameron Park a few weeks ago. So important to know. Yes. You know, she didn't really go into it, some basic questions. You can even find it online. There's a particular, there is some of that. I understand there's some memorization and they come back to that. Yeah, it's not my area of expertise, but I just think people should know that it's available because you know, information is power, right? So whatever medications you're taking, make sure you know their side effects, make sure you understand their interactions. Go to one pharmacy, don't do the polypharmacy thing because you want to be able to sit down with a pharmacist and say, I want to review all of my medications and I want to know what causes drowsiness, what this one does. Are these okay together? Am I taking them at the right time? Because you might have been on it so long, you're not aware that you're dizzy or drowsy a little bit. Or if you know that you are, you might ask your pharmacist or your doctor, hey, can I take this at a different time of day when I'm not getting up and around or I'm not driving or something? So just know there's questions to ask and you'll have to be assertive because people don't tell you things. It's just how it goes. And I have to say in healthcare, there's an assumption that, well, we all know this, right? No, we don't. You know, it's the first time we've been 65 and older. Or they see it every day. We don't, it's new to us. So that's the thing, is we don't always know what to ask. If you're using a walking aid, make sure it's fitted to you. So there's a lot of hand-me-down stuff out there. Walkers go this way, that way, and the other way. They may not be fitted for your size, your height, your gait issue. So it's always good to go to a really good medical supply store to get these things and to be properly fitted. And then we're going to talk about movement. So the longer we sit in the chair, the stiffer we get, right? The harder it is to get up. Just move more deliberately. So my saying to myself is, I'm not 25 anymore. Okay, I'm 35. No, I'm not 25 anymore. So I have to slow down. I have to think about what I'm doing and not get distracted and all of a sudden go in another direction. And one foot's in one direction, one's in another. Before long, believe it or not, I've hit my nose on the corner of a wall. It's been done in my house by me. So I just tell you from a practical standpoint, we all got to kind of slow down and be more mindful of our movement and what we're doing and where we're headed. So then these are some of the things you can do to reduce your risk of falling. So I talked about a buddy system, right? So aging is a team sport. It truly is. And the fact that you're all in this class, you've probably made some friends in here and you look at, you kind of check in with each other. How's it going? Keep that up. It is so good for you on every level. You've got all the machines and stuff. Everyone who's in this industry of, aging healthy is, making sure we maintain our upper and lower body muscle with resistance training and doing our balance exercises daily. These are all important things. And then take advantage of what's offered here and what you might have in your own communities, in your own neighborhood. And I've had activity directors at senior living communities who are really encouraging their residents to move more. Their motto is start where you are because it's never too late to start, right? Don't worry about how hard it is or how slow you are compared to somebody else. Who cares? You earned the right at this age to be yourself, right? And not to care what others think. When we were younger, maybe it mattered more. So I'm going to talk about bedding and beds and furniture tips because we don't really think about those. But every few months I add content to this presentation because real life happens. And either something I experience or my husband or people I know, and I'm like, oh, that needs to go in my presentation. So when you're looking at your mattress, so when you go home today, my goal is that you look at your surroundings with new eyes. You're not going to remember all of this. There are a few handouts, including a home safety checklist, but look at your surroundings in new eyes. So Is your mattress too high, too low, too squishy around the edge, and you're afraid of falling off when you sit up in the morning and you might slide off as you're putting your shoes on? That's a problem. See, that puts you at risk of falling. So take a look at your mattress. So yeah, and is it too high or too low? Some of these things also matter when you're going to visit loved ones. So the holidays are coming and, we're all spread out all over the country. And you may have, a daughter or son says, oh, hey, mom, dad, I hope you come visit me. And you're thinking, oh, that guest bed's awful. But I can't tell them, right? I have in-laws like that. I just don't like the bed. It's too high for me. But I zip it because I'm the in-law and I keep hoping someone in the family is going to complain about the bed. But it has to be us, right? So maybe, and we'll talk about bathroom safety. It's a big deal. Maybe the toilet's too low. There's all sorts of things that impact our safety and our mobility when we're in someone else's home or when we're in a public space. So we're going to have to probably, advocate for ourselves a bit more in a nuanced way somehow. But our kids want us to come visit them, right? And they're wondering, well, what did I do? You could probably read Dear Abby all day long. And well, her mom never comes to see the grandkids anymore. Well, maybe mom hasn't told you that, the toilet's too low, or she's afraid of slipping, getting up the front porch, right? And she's embarrassed. That's just a food for thought, right? So, and then also with bedding, slippery fabrics on the top, if you're sitting on it, you could slide off. And sliding off might not be the worst fall you could ever take, but you could hit your head on the nightstand and have a TBI. This I know from a friend of mine. If you ever fall and think you hit your head and you're not sure if you did, go to the hospital, get checked out. You don't want to find out 2 days later or 2 months later, in the case of my friend, that you've got a brain bleed and you could die any second. So head injuries, mild ones, serious ones, they're all the same. If you hit your head or think you hit your head, go get checked out. I found the sleepfoundation.org has some interesting things. And then I work closely with Heather, who owns the Restful Roost in Fair Oaks, and she's a kind of boutique mattress store, pillows. And I like that you get that special attention. And she knows about this because her dad is the one who slipped out of bed and hit his head and had a TBI. So she's lived it too. And sofas and chairs. You might have your favorite sofa or your favorite chair you've had for years, but it's a bit too cushy or a bit too deep and you're struggling to get out of it. It might be time to change it out, right? If it's not suiting you well, if it's a danger to you, think about that. I'm not saying you got to go out shopping and spend thousands of dollars, redo your house. Just want you to kind of look around your everyday surroundings to see, what no longer is supporting you. And if you do get a lift chair, they can be, quite helpful for folks who have mobility issues. Make sure that you get it from a good a good medical supply store. Because if you order that online, it may not be the proper fit and it's not going to be easy to return. And there's probably going to be a reloading fee, right? Of who knows how much. So better to shop locally on things like that with an expert, because if you're tall, you need a certain size chair. If you're short, if you're slim, you're wide, there's just so many things, to think about. So, and I'll show you one thing, and you guys might talk about that. Or have you talked about like getting out of a chair or anything like that? So I don't know if you can see me, but I'm sitting in this chair now. I love chairs that have handlebars on them as I've gotten older, right? Armrests, because I'm worried about kind of missing the mark. So can you see me okay? If I've been sitting for a while, especially, I can get pretty tight in the hips and in my joints, and it's best to scoot up a little before trying to get out from the back of the chair. That puts a big strain on your back. It makes us a little bit less sturdy and stable when we get up. So if you scoot up just a little bit, and if there were, armrests here, then I would leverage myself up, but with both feet clearly on the ground. So think about that. If you do have sofas and chairs that are pretty deep, you do want to scoot a little forward before trying to get up. It'll be a lot easier for you. I think it's real important, but we don't really talk about it much. So clutter is, clutter's on a spectrum, right? It's a collection. It's my favorite things from childhood. It's my garden stuff, whatever. We all have it, but some of us are much more organized about it. So clutter that gets in your way, that puts you in harm's way of falling, is the kind of clutter I'm talking about. So if it can be, well, you can see the list here. So can you walk around your home without having to kind of hold on to things, to maneuver around other things? And, are there clear pathways? You want to have clear pathways. You want to have clear pathways for yourself and anyone else who lives in the home for safety. You also want to have clear pathways if emergency responders are coming in the house, right? You want them to get to you fast. You don't want it to be a problem. I mean, if they're bringing in a stretcher, how are they going to maneuver that? So think about, is my home set up for safety, including clear pathways? So if you've got rugs, be really careful with those. They're not your friend. They're just not our friends as we age, in part because we don't lift our feet up like we used to. We do a shuffle. Has anybody noticed you're not picking your feet up as much? Yeah, I notice it too. And I'm having to tell myself, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe. And like, we all learned how to walk how many years ago? For me, it was at least 35 years ago, right? But we all learned how to walk at some point. And now we do the shuffle thing, and then our feet get caught on stuff, even the littlest, tiniest, lowest rug. So if we're more aware of lifting our feet up a bit more, heel, toe, it's going to help. But if we do have rugs, it's imperative that you really think, do I really need this? Do I have to have it? Or can I move it somewhere else? It's not a hazard. And if it's on a surface, make sure that you have the backing below it for whatever surface it's on, so it doesn't slide around, right? You know that there's rugs that slide around if you don't have, which you can get at a hardware store to kind of keep it in place. So I that's, one tip there. Then talking about mail and newspapers, it tends to kind of pile up and fall over or be in a corner by a chair. Be mindful of that. And if you have a pet, they're going to have a field day with that. And one day you're going to be walking and not realize, oh, darn, there's stuff in my path. So be very aware of that. The same with power cords. Like what I've done here with the power cord is definitely not in my teaching because, if I'm not careful, I'm going to fall. So I'm aware of it, but I will tell you, if you have a lamp by your chair or your sofa that you like, it's where you sit, it's where you read, it's where you watch TV, but you needed an extension cord for it or something, take a look at, is that cord in your path? So as an example, we have a lamp on one side of the couch that's right by where we open up the curtains in the morning in our big front room. And I thought, this is a fall risk. I'm always looking around. A hose is a fall risk for me. It's a fall risk for everybody. But as we age, these things are more so. Anything laying on the ground that we may not see or that our shuffling feet may get caught up on is a fall risk. So I thought, what am I going to do about this? Because we need a lamp there. And that's where the curtain rod thing is. So I then took an extension cord and I plugged that lamp into it. And then I took that cord all the way under the couch to another outlet on the other side, which is like gets vacuumed about, once or twice a year when somebody's coming over. I mean, it's an area, it's in no man's land, right? So it doesn't matter. No one's going over there. No one's going to trip on it, especially me, because I'm the only real fall hazard in the house. So think about how you can do things with cords that maybe don't seem intuitive, but now you're thinking, oh yeah, if I can move that cord out of the way, I won't trip on it. So, and then lighting is a big deal. Keep your lights on, especially when we get into the dark days of winter. Don't sit in the dark. First of all, it's just so bad for our moods, but also it's so easy to trip over something that we can't see because it's dark. So lighting is important. So you might need to update your lighting a bit. is you don't want it to be lighting that brings you down to the floor. And then don't be too proud to get grab bars and other things in the bathroom to keep you safe at home. Because I mentioned 80% of falls happen at home. 60% of those falls happen in the bathroom. And it's not always the shower. Sometimes it's people fall getting on or off the toilet. Well, I'll show you that device in a bit. Sometimes it's when you're getting on or off the toilet and your knees give out or something happens, right? You get dizzy, something happens, and the ease of getting on and off the toilet is just not what it used to be, and down you go. And many people get wedged between the toilet and the tub, or the toilet and the shower, and you're hurt and you're kind of all, wedged in there and can't move. So be really careful that you want to have grab bars maybe by the toilet, or I'll show you some pictures of things. Even getting into the shower on the wall, not everything's in the shower, but on your way in, on your way out type of thing. And the same way in around your yard and in other parts of your home. Think about where you might have a fall. Now, you're still going to want to do all your exercises and doing everything you can do to prevent falling. But you also want to have some things in place so if you do fall, sometimes it's not your own darn fault that you fell. You could have a cardiac issue. You could have, you didn't drink enough water on a hot day and you were outside, in the yard. It could be you're at the mailbox and the neighbor's dog knocks you over. You're minding your own business, doing your life, and stuff happens, right? So, but when we were kids, if we fell, most of the time, unless we broke something, it was cried, got back up and went on playing. It's not the same now that we're older. So you want to put tools in place to help you age in place. So these are just some of the examples. There's a one-page home safety checklist that I'll pass out. It gives you some of these ideas and you can walk through your house. Some of it has to do with medical stuff too, but it's a start. I don't want to give like pages and pages. If you want pages and pages of these things, they exist, but most of us are not going to do that kind of homework. So I've got a few pictures of things to avoid. Does any of these look familiar to any of you? Yeah, right. Flip-flops are just not great once we get older. They're not holding our foot in place. And again, if we're not lifting our feet up, or if we're having to use our toes to hold our shoes on, we're not using our toes to help with our balance, right? So flip-flops are just a really bad idea as we get older. See those slippers in the middle? Those were slippers that my mom wore for years, pink, blue, white, whatever the color was. And before I was even a fall safety expert, I said to Mom, those slippers are going to be the death of you. And she'd go like this and say a cuss word, and that was that. That was the end of that conversation. So we all know we're all kind of stubborn, and we all think we're younger and more stable than we are. So yes, Mom got out of bed one day, lost her balance, putting her feet in those slippers, fell down, shattered her shoulder, broke her hip. So from that point on, Mom lost a lot of her independence, and so did I. So it's a two-way street in families. If you're lucky enough to have folks who love you and care for you, or help with you, as we age, think about it's a two-way street. And so we didn't have these conversations. I didn't know any of this. I was clueless, and nobody had a conversation with me about it. So those are the male version of a slipper. Again, there's nothing holding that foot in, that one to the right, the navy ones. They look cozy, but hey, you could easily slip in those. Then you see that step stool. I highly recommend you get rid of those things. If you insist on using a step stool, have a buddy there. It's the buddy system. And because a lot of women especially really like to decorate for holidays, and they're reaching up and putting things, they're doing all this stuff, have a buddy over. Even if you tell your buddy, look, be quiet, I'm doing it my way, so I've done it for 30 years, but drink your coffee and be here in case I fall. Or hold the step ladder, because this thought woman said I shouldn't use one. And she said, if I'm going to, I got to have a buddy. So seriously, I say that kind of in jest, but so you'll remember that these things are just not as safe for us as they were 5, 10, 15 years ago. That's just the reality of it. So there's that rug, and then see that microwave above the stove? When I was a kid, I used to think, oh man, when you got money, you get a microwave above the stove. We never had one of those. We still don't have one of those. But the problem with those is you got to reach. Most people, unless you're 6 foot tall, you've got to reach, and you're putting in, maybe it's a cup of coffee, maybe it's a casserole, whatever, a plate, leftovers, and you're sticking it in there. Now it's hot, and you got to open the door, and you got to reach up. And what if you lose your balance because you are reaching and it's too high? And down comes you with hot food or liquid on you. So these things are really precarious. So I would suggest, if you have one of these, to just, don't even just color on it. Let the kids put a picture on it, do something, make it a non-usable device, and get a small, microwave that suits your needs and put it on the counter, because you want to have things within arm's reach that you use often. It's the way to go. And that's this next conversation. See this woman using that step stool? That's even worse than the one with the handles on it. She's got one of those plastic ones. And I can remember, I think in the library when we were kids, those swiveled. No way. I guess I couldn't be a librarian. I'd have fallen on the first day. And so that's not safe with her climbing up there to get something out of the cupboard. She'd be better off putting her often used items close by, lower shelves, right on the counter. And also there's a grabber tool that come in, like 3 foot and 4 foot. We have grabbers all over the house and the yard, and they're handy. They're a little precarious when you're picking up jars from a high shelf. My husband puts a lot of jars on the high shelf. He's 6'1.5". He could do that. So I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to try the grabber. I'm just going to holler at him, hey, come get me this. But you can see the difference, right? If you're at least grabbing for something with a grabber that you handle, it's hard to do if you have arthritis. I will tell you that. But it sure beats getting on a stool.
Okay. I don't mean, I don't know when that.
Oh, it's fine.
I guess that was that really shocking, going over the aisles in the room, and that she like the hand there, I forget what it was, a jar or something, that she couldn't reach. It was a top shelf. It wasn't way high, but for her it was. So I guess my thing is maybe not be embarrassed for saying to ask for another shopper for help. For there was no problem for me. I could reach it.
Yeah, you're tall. Absolutely. So for those of you who couldn't hear, he was at Rayleigh's yesterday, and a shopper who was shorter than him asked him if she could help her reach something from the top shelf. And absolutely, because I look at some things on the top shelf and I'm like, there's nobody around to ask, right? Sometimes. And I'm like, okay, how can I do this? And I know better. And I'm figuring out, okay, is there something around here? Is there a grabber-like thing, another product I might be able to and then it's because you can't stand on the shelves. You have the whole thing topple on you. It's the same way if you're cleaning the top of your fridge. Thanks for this, because many people, they will do things and get on and try to clean the top of their fridge. And I've heard awful stories about these fridges falling over on them. You don't want that to happen. I don't know what kind of fridges do this, but I don't like that idea. So just know that things aren't always as stable as they look. So yeah, same with Rayleigh's. You're shopping at the grocery store and you can't reach something. Oh man, don't pull what I try to do. I usually know when it's time to stop, and I'll go find somebody, or I'll move along and say, well, I guess I don't need it that badly, right? Don't we all kind of do that? It's too much work. But some stores are set up only for tall people. Or kids, because all the stuff the kids are going to want is all right down there where they can reach it, on purpose. So, but yeah, whatever you can do, it's really about being aware of your limitations and being smart, having that common sense. So I don't know how many of you are using night lights, but we discovered these a few years ago. They're motion sensor. And it'll be in the email. Linda has this whole presentation now. So this particular brand, my husband found on Amazon. You get a 4-pack for under $20. They light up as you approach. So if you're getting up in the middle of the night and you don't want to turn on a light, but you really should have some lighting. Many of us get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom once or twice or more. Lighting's important. How do you know if you have a pet that the pet's not right there? How do you know that something didn't slip off a counter and it's right in your path? Or you didn't push your shoes far enough under the bed or under the dresser and whoops, that's what my husband does to me. And I'm like, that's the fall risk for me. You're gonna kill me. So you can have these lights and we have ours throughout the house, bathrooms, along, in the bedroom, down the hallway, through the house. So if we're roaming around at night for a snack in the kitchen or something, the lights guide us. I highly recommend this type of thing. You can get these kinds of things at any hardware store. What's nice about it is the motion sensor on it versus having a night light that's always on in the dark, which can disrupt our sleep. These stay on for about 30 seconds and you can adjust, high or low, yellow light or white light. So this is where I was going to talk about bathroom safety. So there's a ton of stuff out there now for bathroom safety. And make sure we're doing okay time-wise. So I just want you to know that a good medical supply store will have all of these things on hand, on display. You can go in, ask questions, find out what might suit your needs. Maybe you even have a recommendation from your doctor, a prescription type of thing for your doctor. Some of these things are covered by Medicare. Some are, some aren't, some are partially covered, but you can, ask a good medical supply and understand the process. I take these pictures from Health Quest Medical Supply in Fair Oaks. I work with her often, Vanessa, she's an expert, and I've learned so much from being in there. And the number one thing that Nova, the manufacturer of all these bath safety things, says is don't lock your bathroom door. Whoever thinks of that? So we had our bathroom redone a couple of years ago, and we have all new handles everywhere in the house to age in place. And if we had locked the bathroom door and somebody had an urgent issue in there, I have no idea where those keys are. And our house is from the 50s. Many of you might live in a house that you've lived in for years. Do you know where the bathroom keys are? We have brand new handles and I don't know where the bathroom keys are. So I would say get yourself, do not disturb sign, put something on the door if you don't live alone and you don't want somebody, barging in. I mean, usually if the door is closed, that means it's occupied, but think about something other than locking the door. You don't want to delay help to you if you've got a medical emergency going on. So that's on their top 10 list, and it's all about being proactive. We found this bath mat earlier this year. It's pretty good because I don't know about for you, but the shower is a slippery place. And this is kind of like a loofah under our feet, but it's not too abrasive, but it doesn't slide. And you can get it in different measurements. Again, my husband found this on Amazon, and I'd say it's pretty darn good. It's better than anything we've ever tried. So again, that'll be in the presentation that Linda can share with you. So just keep in mind that what you have on the base of your shower really matters because it's a slippery place. Soap builds up. More tools. So on the far left, that is a security bar or a safety bar. And if you are struggling to get out of a chair or out of your bed, one of these poles can be very helpful. It's a tensor rod, so it doesn't ruin your ceiling or your floor. It really needs to be installed by somebody who knows what they're doing and where to place it. But that can help you, steady yourself toward the edge of the bed without falling out, right? And then reach over and then carefully get up. And for many people, it's now I got to put my hands on the walker. Maybe none of you are using any of those aids and you don't need it, but I just want you to know I didn't know that existed until my mom was in skilled nursing. And I thought, wow, we need one of those at home. So they're available at a good medical supply store. Same with walkers, canes, a lift chair, bed rails, whatever, but just so that you're safe. And then if you still live in, a family home that has some steps, you can work on getting some safer ingress and egress so that if, you need handles somewhere, right? Going down the front steps. So it's hard to see that one, but that's kind of a nifty little thing. I would say those are probably stairs going into a basement or to the garage. But those little couple steps getting into the garage can be problematic because people don't know we're in the garage. I have a lot of clients who spend a lot of time in their shops or garages and their spouses in the house and they don't see them till lunchtime. And if there was an issue, they wouldn't know there was an issue, right? Because it's almost like living separately. So having safety tools is important.
Are those temporary grab bars there on that step on the bottom?
The little one there,
Yeah.
that is, well, it's something that could be taken off and then the wall could be patched and painted.
What do
Yeah.
you think about those temporary grab
Oh,
bar handles?
you mean the suction cup ones?
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm leery of those. I know people have them and they've told me, oh yeah, they've been great. I just know suction cup holder for your soap is lousy. So I'm just kind of expecting that it's not gonna be much better for my grab bars. So we have the grab bars that are, installed heavy duty. You can get some that look nice. And that you'll find a variety of things and it's more a matter of how they're placed, if they're installed properly so they don't come out. Even if it's going in your tile, it's got to go in properly, right? So I look at it this way. It may mar up some of your surfaces, but boy, it sure beats you being all marred up because you laid on the floor for days, right? Because you didn't have that. Most things can be repaired or patched. Tile is tougher. We had grab bars, in the shower for my mom and the tile, and it was a big deal, to put it through the tile, but mom was safe and, didn't want her falling again after that big fall that she had that changed everyone's lives.
So both those ramps appear to have rails on both sides, which I think that's helpful too.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, rails.
They do have rails and then, one is a cement one is a metal one. So it depends on if person's gonna stay in their house a long time, what they want to do, how permanent they want to make it versus not. And that top left is what you call a little threshold, which you can also get at a medical supply store. So it makes it a little easier going between, doorways inside your home. If there's a lip and you're getting stuck on it and it's been a trip hazard, or if you have anyone in your home with walkers or wheelchairs,
That thing's slanted. So
it's slightly
make it a little
slanted, yeah, to make it a little easier. And you can see the different sizes they have on hand, but they're helpful. These are all helpful tools that you don't know about, right? And then this is the disabled person's placard. Don't be too proud to get one because parking lots are not designed for people. They're designed for able-bodied people of a younger age than all of us, except for the students here. And it's hard. And if you're going to the doctor and you got to park way out there, or you need someone to drop you off so you can be closer to the door, exercise is great. I'm not against that, but it's nice to have an option. If you've got, heart conditions or other things, hey, getting closer is helpful. You try to go to something at Cal Expo, can you imagine? So what happens is people start limiting their lives because it's too long a walk to everything, including some of the doctor's offices. So finding out if you can get one. Some doctors are good about these, others are like, no way, you don't need it. If your life is being curtailed because you have a condition that makes it very difficult for you to go far distances, insist on it. My brother-in-law has foot issues and he now has had to change his grocery store to a store that has wooden floors, that's smaller. And he has to work around that. And his doctor has pretty much said, you don't need one. And I've seen him and we've had to drop him off. So we go park because he's in agony with that foot. So you see what I'm saying is like, you have to advocate for this. And I've heard from older folks that they've heard that next year it's going to get harder to get these. So if it's been on your mind, talk about it this year. See if you can get it in motion. And be really insistent if you're seeing that your life is shrinking because of mobility issues.
I don't know, I used to work at EMD,
Yeah,
but I've been retired for a few years, I don't know if it's changed, but the blue ones, the permanent, are no charge. And they're good for 2 years, and they automatically send them out to you when it expires.
yeah.
The ones you have to get, well, you both need to have
Doctors sign off.
But
Yeah,
the other one is you have to pay $6, and that's only no longer than 6 months, and
Oh,
you
yeah.
have to
renew it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so really, try for the permanent one if you think what's going on is gonna be more long lasting. Something's better than nothing, but I've heard that it's gonna be harder to get next year.
And if your car is registered, you can get the permanent plates, and there's, charges. We have a commercial vehicle. We don't get charged the weight fee.
Yeah,
If you have a pickup.
yeah. So check it out, and he's your DMV expert.
7 years.
Well, something's changed, something's not. So now we're gonna talk, oh, yes, sir, in the back.
Don't be embarrassed, get a wheelchair when you go travel.
Yes, absolutely. I'm telling you, airports are not designed for people. My dad used to say that when he was younger, but there's a long walk, right? Whether you've got your luggage dragging behind you or not, it's a long walk. And have some assistance, because I'm telling you, you don't want to have, some sort of medical incident because you're too proud to ask for a wheelchair or insist on it. So let's just not be proud anymore. Let's just live our lives, be visible, and advocate for ourselves, because we want to live with dignity and independence. And all of these things are tools for that. The same way we might all be relying on a phone in an emergency, and it's not enough. If a phone was great, my mom would have been able to call 911, or my brother when she fell and broke her hip and shattered her shoulder. But that phone wasn't on the floor where she fell. So imagine that, right? Or if you slip in the garage or at the mailbox, or you have, a cardiac issue or a blood pressure issue, or, heat stroke or whatever, just life, a car accident. How are we going to get to a phone? So I'm passionate about personal emergency alerts. And what I love is that they don't look like your grandma's pendant, right? You don't have to wear a big horn around your neck and scream, "Oh, I'm an old person. I need this. I've fallen and I can't get up." Nobody wants that, right? Everybody's been laughing at that commercial for at least 30 years. The bad news is everybody's been laughing at that commercial for 30 years. So there's a stigma on aging. There's a stigma on wearing a device that could save your life. So I think it's good they put the idea on the map. It's bad that they kept harping on the same old message where people feel like, I'm not that person. Well, you know what? You could be, because getting up, one thing if you're physically fit and you're able to get up after a fall, but if you have injured yourself, that's a whole nother story, right? Or if it's serious, some other medical condition that puts you on the ground. So the CDC, the Mayo Clinic, and Harvard Medical School all recommend personal emergency alerts. And they come in all sorts of sizes and colors, and some are better looking than others, but they're all for different lifestyles and for different needs. And, in full disclosure, I'm a consultant for electronic caregiver devices. I'm not here to sell you my device. I'm here to educate. And it's really the only one I can demonstrate with authority, because I wear it. My husband wears it. And, I have many hundreds of customers who love it. So this is the most popular of the devices that electronic caregiver has, because it's portable. And it goes where you go because it has GPS in it. So like if I fall in the parking lot, which is possible, hey, been known to happen. I slipped on a piece of lettuce at a luncheon, so I'm the real deal. If I get in trouble, I can just push my button here and my device is going to go off. Right here. See, I'll cancel it because nobody needs help. Had it been a real emergency, the operator would come on. I might have had this attached to my pants. It was in my bag. The operator will come on knowing my location, because remember, this has GPS in it. So the operator is going to ask, do I need help or emergency assistance? If I do, they're going to dispatch emergency help to my spot. That operator is going to stay on here until help's by my side. A second operator is going to call my husband. They're going to say to him, Cameron, your wife, has triggered her alarm. We've dispatched emergency responders to her. Would you like to wait on the line while we get more information from the scene? Absolutely. He better wait on the line, right? Hey, come on, we've been married 15 years. You better darn well wait on that line. So he's gonna wait on the line. The EMS team's gonna get to me. And then that operator's gonna talk to the other operator, and then Cameron will know, okay, she's fine. Or, oh, you know what? Taking her, to UCD or wherever all else is closer. And then he'll at least know where I'm going. Because the worst thing that ever could happen is that you're going to the hospital. You have no way to alert anyone who loves you that you're going to the hospital. You may not even be aware enough to be able to tell anyone at the hospital who the heck you are and who to call. This is what I learned from a client who told me what happened when she was having a heart attack. And I was astounded because whenever we called 911 for my parents, I was there, or mom did it for dad, or dad did it for mom. So you know what's going on and they can alert people. But if you're by yourself, you got to have that buddy system so that there are people who know you're in trouble. It could be a spouse, a best friend, a neighbor, kids, grandkids, whatever. You get to decide. The main thing is that with a push of a button, even in the shower, you can summon help and your emergency call contacts know about it. You can also set up reminders from a mobile app. You can say it's time to take my blood pressure reading, right? Time to take my meds, time to drink more water, time to whatever. You can do that, or folks that work with you can do that, so that you stay on track for the things that are important for your well-being. Might be time to do my exercises. We all need that reminder, right? Time to go to class, And so that's the beauty of that. Yes.
The iPhone does a similar thing. It's not as sophisticated as that, but when I fall, they say, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
And then I can press not. One time I didn't notice it, and I got a call from 911.
Yes.
So
Yes. So he has an iPhone. You have an Apple Watch, right? So, and with, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so that's, and they notify your kids. So the other piece of what these devices do beyond what an Apple Watch can do, because Apple, I love that they've added technology and they're amazing pieces. You should all wear them in the shower if you have them. You have to wear it in the shower. You got and you got to take it off to charge it. And during that time period, you don't have something on you could push. That's one of the downsides. But they're amazing, amazing pieces. So I'm not here to put you down or put anything down about them. They just don't go as far. So if you have any health conditions, the operator on this device or other brands that do this, where it's their job to take care of folks, is I'm going to make some things up, but just say this operator sees it's Dot Boyd. Okay, she had, a cardiac arrest in 2010. She's allergic to penicillin. She's on blood thinners. She stores her medications in the bathroom. Her medical wishes are posted on the fridge. She's got a cat that she doesn't want to let out of the house, and a dog that barks a mean bark, but is friendly, but his name's, Toby, whatever, all of this stuff. And if the door's locked, here's where the lockbox is and where the key is. So you don't have to break down the door to get in. This is all if I'm home, right? And here's the call list. Not that the EMS is calling the call list, but it's all on there. So when EMS is dispatched to me, they have a heck of a lot more information about me. And I'm just not another senior on the floor. Oh, brother, I was really wanting to go to a fire today, and I got another older person on the floor. Because honestly, the fire districts are kind of up to their eyeballs with emergency response when they'd really much rather go to fires and to car accidents, because that to them is a bigger deal than seniors having falls. I'm just going to put it out there. Don't quote me, but I've heard. So, and they're using a lot of resources. So the nice thing is if I'm having, if they're dispatching to me, I'm not a stranger. That's the difference of what these things can do versus either calling 911 or having a smartwatch. Again, something's better than nothing. But if you've had a history of some medical issues or are allergic to certain medications or whatnot, that's really important to think a little bit bigger than high risk. Yeah, our risk goes up once we hit 65. And then if we have other chronic conditions and, cardiovascular issues, it's really important. So that's how those things work, so that you're not a stranger when they get to you. You might not be at home. Doesn't matter. They know where you are if you take this with you, and they will help you throughout the US. As long as there's cell service in the area, that's how these things work.
The fire department's still probably gonna come, right?
Oh, yes, it's going to be your local responders. So it may be Metro Fire, City Fire, Alpha One, AMR, all these different entities, even police. So I have a lot of women who live alone, and maybe their husbands passed away or they're divorced, and like, man, I really am nervous when I go out and walk the dog at dawn or when I'm at home at night. So like, hey, keep this by your bed. Take it with you when you leave because it comes with a little pouch, but keep it by your bed at night. And if you think somebody's breaking in the house or prowling, push your button that you're wearing. Tell the operator, I think there's a prowler. I think someone's breaking in. And getting help, because turning on the light and putting on your glasses and finding your phone and tapping it to life and calling 911, how the heck do we do that when we're freaking out because we think somebody's breaking in the house? I don't know how else to put it, but I'm terrible under stress like that, because my phone, if you're using a cell phone, you got to tap it and I got to give it a code, and then I got to call 911, right?
Face ID in the dark.
Or Face ID, or you've got a landline. Nothing wrong with landlines, but how quickly are you going to do the landline thing? Also with cell phones, what happens is it goes to CHP, and some of the smaller jurisdictions, it'll go straight to their fire department. But in many cases, from a cell phone, it goes to CHP. They will ask for your address. Then they'll put you through to local police or fire, and they will ask for your address again. What if you can't speak? How long is it going to take them to figure out where you are? Right? I have clients who have aphasia from strokes, and they couldn't possibly tell a 911 operator that they seriously need help. So, right, they can't speak, but they understand very well, but they understand incoming. So if they have a device like this, it's on their profile. Aphasia will understand you. You won't understand them. If they want help, send help. Or call the sister before you dispatch. Yes.
Are you under contract with that one, with the company? And what is the cost?
Yeah. So there's another device. Oh, you mean as a client under contract?
Right.
No contracts with electronic caregiver, because life changes on a dime. So you have a monthly fee. Most of the equipment, the basic equipment is free. You have a monthly fee and it doesn't change, and it just renews every 30 days. If you cancel at any time, there's no penalty. You can ship the item back for free, or I'll pick it up. Very simple, no contracts. Many in the industry are big on contracts, and they'll scare you into, oh, if you do a 1-year contract or a 3-year contract, we'll bring your price to this, and they'll lock it in, and then you're stuck. And
Bundle it with your cable TV and.
Yeah, you'll get a surprise bill. There'll be an intro offer in 90 days from now. Like, what the heck happened? Like Comcast, right? So sorry, Comcast, anybody working for Comcast, but you know what I mean. You don't want surprises. So, but they will often sell you a warranty, which you don't need. You shouldn't need. The company should stand behind their product, right? If you add a device on, your monthly goes up. That shouldn't be the case. They lock you in that contract, and the only way you can get out of it is if you die and prove it, or you move into assisted living, and that assisted living community vouches, certifies that they gave you their own pendant, and now you can send yours back and get out of your contract. It is horrible. Nobody should do business that way. So electronic caregiver opted to be different, because hey, life changes on a dime, right? And if somebody passes away, why should the spouse have to prove it and send in all this rigmarole to cancel a service they no longer need? It's just terrible. So, and I will go over this one quickly. I don't want us to go over time now. This is a device for monitoring all sorts of health conditions, as well as being an emergency device that works in the home and in your front yard and backyard. So for instance, I'll just show you. I'm gonna push this button. It's gonna call the
Dial
operator.
Emergency Response Center now. To cancel this call,
I'll
please
cancel
press
it, just
the
a demo
helpline now.
unit. So
Your
this,
call has been canceled.
this one though has something built in where you can call telemedicine. You can actually get telehealth. We are contracted with Pocket MD, and you can talk to specialists, doctors, get prescriptions to fill in between times when you see your regular doctor. Or if you're not sure, is this urgent, an emergency? Can it wait till Monday? It's Friday night. What do I do? Right? That's in this one. And then you can add on different peripherals. So for instance, you can add on, I just bring these two. These are the easiest: thermometer, pulse oximeter. There's a spirometer, weight scale, all sorts of stuff. 7 items that can be added for one-time cost that don't change your monthly. But for somebody who's really needing to monitor things, it's nice. And what happens is it's Bluetooth. You can set reminders, and then it's all going to talk to you.
Does it do blood sugar at all?
Yeah,
Connected to thermometer. Please wait.
there's a glucometer and the supplies.
Your temperature reading is 36.8 Celsius, which is 98.2 degrees Fahrenheit.
And then that's all stored in a mobile app.
Your device will power
So
off
then
automatically after
sh-
several minutes.
I'll show you
Please
on the
do not
okay.
take any measurements.
But if your
during this
doctor
time.
wants all these readings and you're like, oh man, and you're having to, you're writing them down on pieces of paper, what if you could just put it, have this thing do it for you? And now there's my temperature says 98. That's normal, isn't it? 98.2. Usually I'm 97. You guys are making me hot. All these questions. No, just kidding. So yesterday I was 97.5 and my pulse ox was 98. Oh yeah, that was my pulse ox was my temp 98. Yeah. So that's all stored and I can email that to the doctor. And or if I've got somebody who's, pestering me and worrying me, they can be on my call list and they can look at it. I like that. Yeah. So this one is dual purpose in that it does serve as an emergency device. You wear this in the shower too. All of these wearable pieces have long life batteries that last 2 to 3 years. You don't have to take it off to charge it. So you're not unprotected. And when the battery starts to go low, we replace it. So at no charge, we just send you a new, the buttons all pop out. We send you a new button. If you need a new wristband, no problem. We send that too. So, and the same for the portable device, it's the same. You got this, you got that, same darn thing. So, but what was your question again, Linda?
Those are two separate.
Two separate things. So this one is for monitoring your health and for folks who are more homebound, who don't leave the house without someone. And they're like, oh, I don't need the portable, but I do like this in-home one. And I like that I could add on some of these peripherals if I wanted to. So they do have some similar functions and separate ones.
One from my wife that I was not happy with. This has a lot more features.
Yeah.
Than I would.
Yes. So they do have more features. You might not use all of them, whether it's Electronic Caregiver or another company. There may be more features than you'll ever use, or you might think, these are great. I love it. So for the Premier Portable, this one here, what it comes with is the gray wrist pendant, this portable transmitter with GPS, and a charging cradle, because this piece does get charged daily for about an hour, but it still works unless it's not been drained all the way. But you're going to get pestered and reminded if it starts to get low, because we want you protected 24/7. So this particular one is $49.95 per month. There's always a promo going on of about around 10% off. So that one's usually in the neighborhood of $45 a month. And there's the free basic equipment. If you want a colored band and button, that's a one-time charge of $59. And there's no change in your monthly. Whatever you sign on for is your monthly. If it's a promo price, that's your price always. So 40 is just, but you could say $50 a month or slightly less. If you want telemedicine, even with the portable one, add $10, so $60 a month. This one is $60 a month before any promos. And it comes with this and the gray pendant. So,
This one, that one?
no, well, whichever device you get, most people don't get both. Not unless they really want to do, hey, I'm out and about and I want that personal protection wherever I go. But I like this other thing at home to monitor my vitals. So if they're doing that, yeah, this one is 60 minus any discounts. This month it's about $54 because it's 10% off. And that's the monthly price when someone signs up. And this one is, $45 a month right now. So yeah, so you're looking at, close to $100 a month if you had both. Just really depends on your lifestyle and your needs, and what you're most concerned about. What I do love is all that emergency information here. I probably should have made that a handout, but that's that whole story I told you about your first responders knowing about you. I have a client who has very specific dog care instructions because this big German Shepherd is not letting you in the house unless you've got this plan, which is you kind of talk to it and you come in and the treats are on the counter and you grab those treats and you get slobbered on for a minute or two and then you put him in his crate. Because I went through that just to meet them. And now we put that on their profile because what are the first responders going to do when they come in a house and there's a dog if they don't know what to do, right? So I'm like, okay, so now we know that kind of thing. Or if a spouse has dementia or Alzheimer's, it's important that the EMS know that. So, and it's important too, if you are a family caregiver, I give a lot of presentations about that, is we're all focused on the person who's not thriving as much as we are, right? The identified patient is the person maybe with Alzheimer's or dementia or other health conditions. But if there's cognitive decline in your loved one that you live with, and they wouldn't be able to call 911 for you, we know they can't call 911 for themselves. But if you were having, let's say, a cardiac incident, and you're like, you're wishing you could get to a phone to call 911 because your loved one doesn't know this is what's happening for you, you're stuck. So sometimes, we're looking at the folks in our home that aren't thriving as well, but it's really about us because we're that caregiver for them and for ourselves. And that's something to think about too. If you're in that situation, or if you know someone in your family that you're worried about, what happens is with family caregivers, if they're similar age of their spouse, they will often die first. And then what, right? But if you are a family caregiver and let's say you're shopping, you're at Rayleigh's, you have an incident and someone calls 911 for you and you're on your way to the hospital, somebody's got to know, oh, my wife's at home and she has dementia and I was only going to be gone for a half an hour to get milk. And now I'm going to be 6 hours at the ER somewhere. Somebody needs to know. And that's why these systems are so imperative for that. So it gets the family and the call list involved. Okay, daughter number 1, you're going to see dad at the hospital. Daughter number 2, you go see mom. Son number 3, hey, be on alert because we don't know what's going to happen, right? You want that. If you are lucky enough to have people in your life who love you, you want that. You definitely want that. So
can you have more than one person on these devices?
each person has their own.
You can't have the device itself and have 2 people. You have to have 2 devices.
Yeah, you have 2 different devices unless you have the landline version. So I didn't talk about it, but I do have clients who have a landline system because the cell service in their home is lousy, even in pockets of Sacramento, Metro Sac. Or they like that they're loud and it goes through the landline. So when a emergency call is being loud and made, you hear it all over the house. That one, for an added fee, someone can get a second pendant that works with that device. That's the only one. These newer, more modern ones don't work that way, where they're strictly for one person.
So the couple you were describing, if they're both at risk, they need to have two separate devices and pay two separate subscriptions.
Well, in the case of the couple at risk, the one who has severe cognitive decline wouldn't know what to do with it. So they're not going to have one. See, it'll be for the person who is okay, who doesn't have cognitive decline, and they know if my wife is in trouble, I'm pushing this button. If I'm in trouble, I'm pushing this button, right? So there would be just one for that person. But they can call for their spouse. But the spouse has such cognitive decline, they wouldn't know what to do with the button. Does that make sense? So there'd really be only one in that case for the so-called well person, right? I do have the clients with the dog. He goes to work every day. She stays at home because she's got cognitive decline, but she knows enough that she's going to push her button. She's not, in such decline that she doesn't know what this button is for, but she has this one in the house because it's just easy. She's just got this on and that. He goes to work every day. So he's got this one because he knows, because he's got heart issues. He's concerned if something happens to him, who's going to know to go be with his wife? And so they have it all set up, who's getting called. They have a care manager involved. They have no family, they have no kids. A lot of us don't have kids or grandkids. I don't have kids or grandkids. So I'm like, who am I relying on? My husband for now. So that's how they do it. They have two, but only because one of them leaves the house by himself without the other. So when I talk with folks, I ask a lot of questions about daily life, concerns, medical conditions, lifestyle, all of this stuff. So I can sort of flesh out what's the best device. Do I have the right solution, or is there something else?
You said something as far as interfacing in with the computer and so forth.
Oh yeah, so they don't really interface with the computer per se. That there's a mobile app which it can be easy to load up or not easy depending. But at Electronic Caregiver, there's a 24/7 customer support team. They're fabulous. I don't know where they get these folks, but I love them. I'm telling you, every company should have these people. And then there's me locally. And then I do Zoom calls and FaceTime for if you've got relatives out of the area. I do that as well. But if you're local, which you're here in this class, I'll come to your house if you want me to, and I'll show you how it works, get it all set up, get the mobile app, for you, and make sure that you know how to use it. So, and apparently that's a rare thing anymore. Since COVID, most of the companies are not sending anyone out to the home. I'm independent, so I'm not an employee, but I called some of the biggies because my clients are asking me, well, how does this compare to this or that? And then my question to the companies is, and do you send someone out to their home? Oh, no, we don't do that anymore. We protect our employees. Like, what does that mean? Seniors protecting. No one's going to harm me if I'm in their home. No one has yet harmed me when I've gone to their home. And no one has ever kicked me out because I'm not going to pressure you into anything. So I'm your local it. I have a couple of new helpers. They're just getting up and ready. One lives in Elk Grove and one's in Auburn. I go to Davis, tomorrow I'll be in Placerville. I go to Davis, Elk Grove, Placerville, Lincoln, all over. Where, pretty much wherever. And then I do a lot of speaking, because I'm passionate. You can tell I'm passionate about this whole subject. Yes.
Speaking of, you mentioned Elk Grove, I just wanted to mention in Elk Grove on the 21st, there's a senior safe driving class. If anybody's interested, gives you a discount on your car insurance.
Did everybody hear that?
21st.
Yeah.
Elk Grove Senior Center.
The Elk Grove Senior Center is quite the place. I'm telling you. I was just there a couple weeks ago for their senior resource fair. It's fabulous. There was great attendance. Yeah, so there's a safe driving class on October 21st at 8 a.m. How do you just go to Senior Center Elk Grove to pre-register?
Well, I called Dave, who was the instructor. He registered us as he was driving in the car. And I'm like,
Okay.
"Hey, you're not supposed to be talking on."
Yeah, right? That's not safe. Yeah, it's like telling Dot, you shouldn't have that cord running in front of you and you're teaching this class. So talk to her if you want to take that class. She knows who to call. So, and then I saw another hand up somewhere. Yes,
So do we contact you if
Yeah.
we're interested?
Yeah. absolutely. And I have handouts and all my information is on there. Absolutely. And in the handouts, you'll see this fall prevention resource list. You know, I should have this class listed on there too, because what you're doing here is helping to prevent falls. But you'll see a lot of things, you know, in the area. The Stop Falls Coalition is how I got involved in the Matter of Balance class, which is really how you did, because it's put on by the 3 major hospitals.
So who are you doing that for?
I do it under both Sutter Health and Dignity because with HealthQuest Medical Supply in Fair Oaks. So she has a nice, beautiful showroom, and we're doing the class. And it's what that class is all about, because I know it's coming up on your agenda soon. It's really interesting. So you got a lot of practical tips today, and you'll get some of those in a Matter of Balance. In a Matter of Balance class, a lot of the discussion is peer discussions with, you know, other folks like you about your fear of falling and how to adjust your thinking around that so you can live your life and be safer. Some of the things we talked about, but it goes into in depth, and it's evidence-based from Maine Health, you know, out of the state of Maine, and been going on for a while. So it's an 8-week course. Well, depending on how you do it, each module is 2 hours. So that's the Stop Falls Coalition. The hospitals, remember those stats I told you? Every 11 seconds, a senior's treated in the hospital for fall-related injuries.
Because of ergonomics.
For lots of reasons. Yeah, some of it is our cities, our towns aren't designed for us to age in place. So their trauma units are the pillars of Stop Falls Coalition, because they're seeing it and they're studying it and they're seeing the numbers rise. So you're lucky to have that your team here got trained on that. So again, more fall related things. And that's that. Any other questions?
Can you go back to slide? You should. Right there.
I have a handout for that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Because I think people always want that. Like, what do I do? How do I do? There are some free services out there, like Rebuilding Together Sacramento. You just have a long waiting list, but get on a waiting list is better than nothing. But if you need devices in your home now, safety things, don't wait. Don't wait. And you can just consider me a resource to all things, you know, older folks related in our general area, and I can lead you to folks. So.
Are you services, your company services above and beyond the subscription? So speeds are concerned?
What do you mean exactly?
If you get on a subscription for one of these devices.
Yeah.
and you're providing supportive services. Are there fees for that?
No, I'm free.